Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive and a review of modules from a Eurorack maker new to the scene, Bart Instruments. Bart Instruments approached me to have a look at their modules, but for a full disclaimer, I did not get paid for this, nor do they have any say in the content of this video. Just like you guys, I love getting my hands on new modules, and when I looked at their website, I was surprised at how affordable their modules were. Like, have you ever seen a dual oscillator with a link function and 10 built-in VCAs for 250 euros, or an MS-20 style filter for less than 150 euros? Well, I've got my hands on their oscillator, their filter, and some utility modules. Let's put them to the test and see how they do. This is Bond by Bart Instruments, which is a dual oscillator VCO. It has all the basic wave shape outputs from saw, triangle, sine to square, and each oscillator can be synced either hard or soft, as well as through 0FM or phase modulated. Both oscillators can work separately, or you can link them up using the link toggle above. What's quite unique about the Bond is that it comes with two expanders, one for each oscillator. Each expander has 5 VCAs built in, and so you can use the dials to set the volume of each oscillator manually. Or you can use a CV input to operate them like typical VCAs. Let's give that a go in our first patch. So I'm using a quantity that generates 4 different envelopes, and these 4 envelopes are sent to 4 VCAs of the Bond. First to the square and sawtooth waveforms on the left, and then to the triangle and sine wave waveforms on the right. I've set up the quantity so that the harmonically rich waveforms are triggered first, and while they subside, the harmonically more simple waveforms of the sine and the triangle wave are coming in a bit later, giving me a harmonic progression without any filters. And I like that really all you need for these kind of sounds is a couple of envelopes and the Bond. What I really like about these VCA expanders is that you can set up an FM oscillator really easy. So I'm using oscillator 2 on the right hand side, and I'm sending the signal from oscillator 2 into the FM input of oscillator 1. But what's really cool is that I can use the VCAs of oscillator 2 to decide how much FM modulation I will have in oscillator 1 at any given time. And of course with that and a bit of tweaking, I can make a lot of different FM sounds. And while these FM sounds are kind of interesting, the thing I like the most with the Bond is making FM kick drums. Really just tons of lovely kick drum flavors. Just to show you it's possible right out of the box, here's some amplitude modulation synthesis with the Bond as well. And honestly, it's just lovely to see that there's so many ins and outputs on the Bond that you can also just get really chaotic patches. Alright, I hope that gives you a good first impression of what the Bond and its expanders are capable of. Next, let's check out the filter. So the Brighten is an MS-20 style filter that is really quite smooth when the resonance is down and gets quite aggressive the higher up you put the resonance. The Brighten is a stereo filter where both channels can be linked or used independently. Per channel it has 2 audio inputs, 2 inputs for CV control of the filter frequency and 1 input for the resonance. And here's a quick bandpass sweep so you can see that it lets a bit of audio through both at the low and the high end, but you can push that a bit with CV control. Besides having 2 audio inputs per side, the Brighten also has 2 CV inputs for the frequency. And what's nice is that you can use one CV for your envelopes and the other one for some more performance-oriented filter changes. For instance, here I've routed the touchpad on my Arturia keyboard to the filter frequencies to have a bit more manual control to open and close the filter whenever I want. What I really like about the Brighten is that it's a stereo filter, but it has individual control over each channel's cutoff frequency and resonance control. So you can do really cool stuff like in this patch, where I'm controlling the morphogene with one joystick, while controlling the frequency and the resonance of the Brighten with another joystick. In this case here, I've mapped the frequency controls of each stereo channel to different axes on my joystick, so I can control them separately. Again, you can hear that the filter with no resonance is quite smooth, but I do have to say it reacts quite harshly when even adding a tiny bit of CV into the resonance. You can hear a lot of resonance at the resonance point. Finally, here are 2 patches of the Bond and Brighten supported by a bigger Eurorack system. For both patches I'm using the XOR NerdSec sequencer to trigger the melody, but also to bring in different wave shapes by sending CV changes to the VCA expander of the Bond on every sequencer step. I'm treating the 2 oscillators of the Bond as separate voices with separate melodies, which works well with the Brighten, who has also 2 separate inputs for processing those oscillators. In post, I actually replaced the Ultra kick with the kick drum I made earlier on the Bond. So effectively everything you hear now is made completely on the Bond and Brighten, plus some reverb from the FX8 and some delay from the Mimeophone. Alright, so let's talk about the pros and cons. I have to say I am impressed with the function to price ratio of these modules. I think these modules are one of the cheapest entry points to modular, even rivaling some semi-modular options. The Bond is, for 250 euros, hands down one of the most affordable options to get your hands on 2 oscillators with all basic wave shapes and 10 VCAs. The Bond oscillators can be hard and soft synced, frequency, phase and pulse width modulated, and together with the volume control over each oscillator wave shape, this offers a ton of sound design possibilities, as you have seen in the video. I can definitely say that I think the Bond offers a great value proposition, especially for Eurorack beginners. If you already have a big Eurorack system, however, you probably have the basic wave shapes the Bond offers already covered. And you should be able to create most sounds I've presented to you today already, just with a bit more cabling. When it comes to the righten, for 130 euros, I think it might be one of the cheapest MS-20 style filters on the market. As you have heard, it is really smooth on low resonance, but carries a lot of edge when cranked up. It works great with stereo sound files, which is what I use in most of my productions. The righten resonates quite quickly when you CV control the resonance, but for that price, I'm happy to attenuate my CV signal if needed. The utility modules continue the trend of being no frills but extremely affordable. When designing my rack, I would normally go for slightly bigger, more functional modules, say a Maleko Quad VCA instead of a 2 HP module. But these modules here, especially the quick maths, dual VCA or buffered molds, would be my go-to if I have 2, 4 or even 8 HP that I need to fill out with very specific functions. So there you have it. Let me know what you think about these modules. That's all for today. Thanks to everyone for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.